Hello, my name is Fran Toledo, and I will be doing my reflection video on an article that I read in the Huffington Post, a newspaper based out of New York, on an article that was printed October 24th of 2015 on how white women are actually victimized more than any other demographic in horror movies. And this was according to, like I said, an article in Huffington Post. And some of these movies are like Alien, Evil Dead, Nightmare on Elm Street, Jaws, Jeepers Creepers, and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So, in relation to other types of movies with domestic violence, women are actually portrayed as um, the helpless one, just like in the horror movies. And so, another good example of a particular movie would be Enough with Jennifer Lopez, who was actually victimized to the point where she had to retaliate back towards her husband and actually ended up killing him in that movie. And so, therefore, she became the individual who was presented as the strong being, as opposed to the man actually killing her. And that was kind of the end of the story. And then it's um, a sad ending to that. And so, unlike horror movies where the women usually are either beat to death or they're just killed altogether. And so, what I was surprised is that we in America and as a society, producers and directors actually can get away with a lot of uh, different types of scenarios for women. And of course, it all kind of falls under the freedom of speech and our First Amendment because we all have that right as we live here in the United States. Um, but I think it's important to realize, though, that we do need to keep a certain consistency of morals and values. And in our book, in Hansen of 2016 Mass Communications, the description of that is that it is an individual's code of behavior which is based on religious or philosophical principles. Morals are defined by right and wrong in ways that may or may not be rational. This information is found on page 356 of our book. But another good reference from our other book in Turner of 2013, Pulp Culture, which was found on page 60, is that films supply a more widespread cultural references than any other art form. And according to Neil Postman, Literacy is Lost in that video, he indicates that television is equally accessible to everyone. And television is not critical thinking, it is considered passive. We are aware of less, we are less intelligent, we are less analytical, and we are less reflective. Postman also states that television is imaginistic, entertaining, and the population becomes passive. Access is electronic now, and so we don't need to read. Um, but Postman adds reading is considered more of a luxury and more of a leisure now, which is true because I think a lot of people find it more entertaining to watch a show or a movie, and with all of the graphics that they have to offer, you can't get that out of a book. I mean, a book can be really descriptive, but you can't see it. You can imagine it, which is good, I think, and I agree. But I also think too that you get more of a feel for what is actually going on if you can see it. And so what I found, what was really interesting, is that Marshall McLuhan in his video, The World is a Global Village, said that we used to live, we used to die, and we used to love by the book, and it taught us to be private and alone. And now, of course, with movies, they influence society so much that we talk about these things, and it's just like Walking Dead. People want to know, people want to talk with other people about what happened and who died and how it happened. And, it just brings society and people kind of closer together in that way. And so another good point that McLuhan had brought up was that the tribal man, the electronic man versus the individual man. We are getting rid of the individual man, or we're more concerned with what groups know, just as I just mentioned. So I found these findings really, really interesting in this article. And so it basically just goes on to say, too, that it's like 52% of the white women are killed as opposed to 24% of white males that are killed in actual movies. And so that was really interesting. So I just think that we as Christians just need to be aware of morals and values when we're watching some of these shows. I know that I'm guilty of not watching more Christian-like shows, but that's just it. There's not a lot of Christian-like shows that are out there. And so it's really hard because a lot of the times television and movies kind of do influence our society, and we kind of are geared towards watching those types of things. And I think it's more critical for us, if we're following a path with God and to be more like Christ-like, we have to make sure that we are in the Word of the Bible so that we can stay on track with that. And it's really hard in today's society when we're so surrounded with electronic resources and media at a touch of our button, which was described in McLuhan's video, is that it's just there and it's everywhere. And so I just really got a really good idea of some of the communistic ways that movies portray certain people and genders, and so women in some sense are still considered like the weak link. And so that was really interesting to me, and I did really learn a lot from this article. Once again, this is just my reflection video, and thank you for listening, and have a good day.